Welcome to Impact TV, a corporate venture video series in collaboration with the Kauffman Fellows. I'm Jack Crawford, a founding general partner at Impact Venture Capital, and alongside my Impact colleague, Pat Bumpus, and my Kauffman co-chair, Alessandro Santo, we're thrilled to welcome to the show Heejin Chung, Head of Venture Investment at SK Hynix America. Heejin, welcome.
Thank you very much for having me today. I'm very excited to have a chance to talk to the great audience of Impact TV today.
Really appreciate you making time. I just wanted to start by saying how much I've appreciated the collaboration and partnership over the last few years. You've been a speaker at some of our events. You and I have had an opportunity to co-invest together. I've had an opportunity to learn a little bit about SK Hynix and develop a personal and professional relationship with you. So thanks for the partnership and thanks for the friendship, Heejin. Really appreciate it.
Likewise, I have to thank whole Impact team to support SK Hynix so far in sharing insights on tech and investment trends in various areas that SK Hynix don't have much presence, and also providing network opportunities and enhance our brand awareness in the investment community. I have to emphasize that I'm very happy about our relationships over the past few years that we've established between Impact and SK Hynix.
Oh, thanks so much for the kind words. I really appreciate it. Well, before we dive into the formal question and answer between you and I know your son's a basketball player. I know that you are a Warriors fan. I'm just curious, you may know I'm a big Sacramento Kings fan. Who's going to win this Saturday? Sacramento Kings haven't been in the playoffs for 16 years, and of course the Warriors are last year's champion. Do you have a view on who might win, and might there be an opportunity for a wager here today?
Sorry, Jack, but definitely Warriors. I have to admit that Kings have been playing very well this season, but they don't have an experience in playoff. So I bet Warriors will win.
Okay, well, we've got you recorded saying this. So if the Kings come back and beat them, I'll make sure and keep this in the archive. Let's just start off with maybe a little bit about SK Hynix. I mean, it was. It's a company that that some are familiar with, and candidly, many are not. So it'd be great just to provide you with an overview on the company from your perspective.
Yeah, sure. SK Hynix is a global memory supplier, integrated device manufacturer of DRAM and flash, SSD, CMOS image sensors, and a bit of foundry services. With revenues of about $35 billion and operating profits of $6 billion in 2022. We have a headquarters in Korea and manufacturing sites in Korea as well as in China. A bit about our venture practice. We started investing in 2016 as a strategic investor investing in semiconductor space. We are stage agnostic, but mostly Series A through C kind of companies. Typical check size runs from $1 to $5 million, but 3 million plus minus, that's a typical check size. Yes, that's about it.
And just with regard to your personal journey, you've been at SK Hynix for a while. Was there something specific that drove you or led you into an interest on the corporate venture side of things?
Oh, sure. A bit about myself. My first job was actually at Samsung, not Samsung Electronics, but it was exporting and importing companies from consumer goods to all the way to plant engineering. I worked at internal consulting, management, accounting kind of group, mostly crunching numbers on Excel spreadsheet. And then I did my MBA in the US. My second year was right after the dot-com bust, but I was lucky enough to get a job at one of the management consulting firms in Korea. And then 2005, I moved to SK Telecom. That was when I started, my career with the SK Group. SK Telecom was a wireless carrier provider in Korea to develop. My job was to develop a growth strategy for the company. And I was relocated to Silicon Valley in 2008 to execute that strategy. And my first mandate was to set up $100 million venture fund. That's how I got first involved in venture side. And in 2012, SK Telecom acquired significant shares of Hynix, back then Hynix. And that's when I moved to SK Hynix. and stayed on the strategy and marketing side of it. And then at the end of 2014, my management team asked me to set up the venture investment practice, and that's how where I am now.
Yeah, thanks for that. Thanks for that overview. Over the last couple of years, we've developed hundreds of relationships with different corporate venture groups at Impact Venture Capital. I'm finding that there isn't sort of a specific pattern. If you know one corporate venture group, you know one corporate venture group, and it's sort of, some of them are financially focused, some are strategically focused, some are inside the headquartered company actively working with business units. Some are operating independently like a traditional VC. Some are actually rebranding. So even though their LP is the headquartered company, they've come up with a different brand. Can you just talk a little bit about how you think about investments? Are you making strategic investments that provide financial return? And are you required to get business unit sponsorship, or do you have a little bit more autonomy? Just talk about that part of SK Hynix corporate venture activity.
Yeah, absolutely. We are a strategic investor. That means I have to come up with compelling stories around what kind of strategic values the investment will bring to SK Hynix, and at the same time, what values we can bring to the table for startups. And strategic values can be defined in many different ways, not much different from what other corporate investors are seeking. We are looking for the market intelligence opportunities, technical partnerships, commercial relationships opportunities. And when it comes to financial returns, it's one of the criteria that we consider. We don't want to lose money, but financial return is not our ultimate goal. We want to, make a return from our investment for us to be self-sustaining entity. So financial return, we view financial return as a measure to validate our investments.
Two patterns that I have recognized in the corporate venture community. One is that corporate venture groups seem to be investing earlier by stage, so no longer playing a passive role at the Series C and Series D. And the second one is the one that I wanted to ask you about. At the Series A and B level, oftentimes they're syndicating rounds of financing with other corporate venture groups. And I wondered sort of, how do you navigate through sort of assembling a syndicate with multiple corporates when oftentimes their industry sector, say the industry sector of some competitors, are overlap a bit. How are you interacting and collaborating with other corporate venture groups, and how do you navigate through, potential co-investments alongside of competitors or not?
Yeah, we don't have any restrictions in terms of the who we syndicate with for investments. Oftentimes we co-invest with our competitors such as Samsung, Intel, and etc. And we do like to have the co-investors up and down of our value chain, from material to equipment companies to even our competitors and potential customers going forward. So I don't believe the value of exclusivity in particularly this open source and open innovation area. So I'd like to have our competitors as a co-investor. And that means what we see the opportunity as a valuable can be also valued at our competitors too.
Do you expect to acquire some of these portfolio companies that you're investing in now? What's your sense of what percentage of the overall investments that you're making might ultimately lead to an acquisition by SK Hynix?
Yes, that's not our ultimate goal. So it's a case by case, but we'd like to have our foot in the area that strategically important for us for us to better understand the technology trends and competitive dynamics in the space, so that we can be better prepared when we need to acquire any valuable assets in the space. So portfolio company might be one of the candidates, but it doesn't guarantee anything in terms of the acquisition afterwards.
Yeah. I think that's been my experience with the broader corporate venture groups. The one that have had the groups that have had dedicated programs around for a decade. They, it's more of a visibility campaign, but then they're finding ways to sort of add value beyond capital by really providing market insight. Sometimes development resources. Sometimes access to customers. Is there anything specific that you view SK Hynix as doing well when it looks to provide value beyond capital? As you look across the portfolio of investments you've made so far, where do you feel like you're enhancing the value by being a strategic investor?
Yeah, in various ways. Because the areas that I'm investing in is highly relevant to SK Hynix. That means there are a lot of opportunities to collaborate between startups and SK Hynix, both from a technology standpoint as a commercial opportunity standpoint. So, most of the times we try to set up technical deep dive sessions between our portfolio companies and BUs to identify collaboration opportunities and for the potentially POCs and co-development projects. And sometimes we provide our memory products for their for them to understand better about what kind of memories they need going forward in terms of the optimizing their systems and etc. And also we help our portfolio companies to connect with our customers if relevant.
Yeah. Okay. And will you remind me, is it a dedicated $100 million fund that you're deploying over a 3-4 year period? I mean, talk to me a little bit about portfolio sort of construction and fund size. Is this $100 million that has been allocated for the next 3 or 4 years, or is this? How do you think about sort of fund size and deployment pace?
Yes. To clarify, the $100 million fund that I was referring to earlier was for the SK Telecom. And SK Hynix, we invest out of a balance sheet. And roughly 4 to 6 transactions, new investments per year, deploying about $20 million plus minus. And since 2016, I made about 30 investments. So both in the direct investment opportunities and fund investment opportunities like Impact.
Awesome. Okay, so let's switch gears and talk a little bit about industry sectors. I'm really curious to get your view. I mean, there's a lot of discussion about the AI chip space that you and I know both watch, high performance computing and how that might impact, cybersecurity areas. But there's also, I mean, how can we ignore what's happened over the last couple of months with generative AI and ChatGPT? Can you talk a little bit about your view on kind of industry sectors that are of interest and what's going on in this sort of AI chip space and high performance computing and generative AI and sort of how all this stuff might converge or complement each other?
Yes. So at a macro level, semi industry is traditionally very cyclical, a lot of ups and downs, and memory industry particularly so due to the long lead time for capacity expansion and manufacturing processes. And over the past few years, due to the supply chain disruptions, geopolitical issues, the market right now is not favorable. But we expect that to turn around sometime soon, sooner than later. And fundamentally, the demands for the memory products are strong and will grow. And particularly this new, generative AI, ChatGPT, big data, will bring more opportunities for memory products going forward. And when it comes to investment opportunity, we'll see explosion of a lot of applications based on generative AI models going forward, as we've seen in early days of internet and smartphone era. But that's mostly software and application side. But hardware side as well, it's very exciting because so many different approaches are being tried with no clear winners yet from a hardware platform standpoint. In order to bring the best performance per power per dollar. For example, you may have heard about analog computing versus digital versus hybrid computing, and in-memory computing versus near-memory computing, optical interconnect, compute express link as a new interface protocol, 2.5D packaging versus 3D packaging, and etc. This is a really exciting moment to invest in the space, and I'm very fortunate to meet all the entrepreneurs trying to disrupt the incumbent technologies with these new approaches.
As you meet with these founders, whether they're focused on sort of hardware companies or software companies in some of these incredibly innovative areas like generative AI and others, are there certain qualities or characteristics that you look for? When we talk a lot at our firm at Impact Venture Capital about sort of really having a well-defined problem, having a differentiated solution, but then when we look at sort of the founder, do they have the fire in the belly? Does he or she have skin in the game? How much have they invested in their own company? Can you talk a little bit about qualities or characteristics of founders when you meet with them, and what really draws you in and gets you excited about kind of working with that team?
Yes, all the characters and nature that you've just mentioned applies as well. But I'm particularly interested in seeing the articulation by the CEO and founders. You should be able to deliver your stories in very succinct way. What problems you are trying to solve, why current solutions are not solving the problems, and how you are going to solve the problems in different ways. And I want to also see that founders do their homework before the meeting, because you have to know your audience and customize your stories. For financial investors, at the end of the day, you have to tell them, convince them how to return their investment. For strategic investors like us, we would like to understand what the investment means to SK Hynix. At the same time, what values we can bring to the table, vice versa. But oftentimes, they are not prepared yet. They don't have any stories at all, or just tell me what they are looking for, as opposed to what we can do together. So, and the third characteristics that I'm particularly looking for is a persistence. No doesn't mean never, right? Oftentimes you don't get specific feedbacks other than simple no or silent no. But that doesn't mean that you don't have any chance to get the investments from SK Hynix or other investors. It can take several years. You have to continue to be ready to update them and when the timing is right, you can have a chance to get the investment from the potential investors. That's what I valued highly when I evaluated actually impact for LP investments. Jack, you are very persistent and never gave up. So I think that's a very important aspect of founders and CEOs.
I think we agree with you broadly about the characteristics of founders. One thing that we have found is how important sales skills are. To your point about persistence, these early founders, they have to recruit other co-founders. They have to, try and recruit people that will work for equity as opposed to, cash compensation. They have to find early beta customers that will try a product before it's actually commercially viable. They have to be able to create a vision for investors before the company's profitable. I mean, a lot of this is about creating a vision and then quickly building reality behind it. And to your point, sometimes that takes a lot of persistence.
Yeah, it's all about selling, right? Your stories and your visions and your products to various audiences. It could be your potential employees, it could be your potential investors, it could be your potential customers.
We are trying to broaden our network of co-investment relationships with corporates. And I have a question for you around how you work with traditional VCs, because many of the Kauffman Fellows, I think, are starting to recognize what a key role corporate venture groups are playing in the venture ecosystem. Years ago, maybe participating in 1 out of every 10 venture-backed deals, now participating in 1 out of every 3, maybe even 1 out of every 2 corporate venture groups have become a major stakeholder in the venture ecosystem. We've had the benefit of not only investing alongside of SK Hynix, but Applied Materials and SoftBank and Intel and Zoom and Yamaha and Kubota and a bunch of others. And we learned something from each of those relationships that I think enhances our investing IQ. I think the broader Kauffman network and candidly other seed and early stage investors are starting to recognize the value of leaning in and learning from corporate venture groups and corporate M&A teams. Can you talk a little bit about how you kind of work with early stage venture groups, what you look for in them, how they can help complement what you're trying to do, and just what that collaboration looks like?
Yeah. I have to say that the role of the corporate venture program in the investment community has evolved a lot. So it's more of the investment partner vis-a-vis traditional VC firms. But still, I'm looking for the from traditional VC firms for such things as regular updates, deal flow exchanges, perspective sharings. All the things that traditional corporate venture organization would look for from traditional VC firms. Perspectives on the due diligence in the domain expertise and introductions, but ultimately, personal relationships to work together and having fun together.
You mentioned earlier investment size, sort of, I think if I recall, sort of $1 to $5 million range with a $3 million investment size is kind of the sweet spot. With regard to investment style, are you leading investments? Are you building syndicates? Are you taking board roles? It's been interesting to see a pattern of corporate venture groups, some of which are leading, Series A rounds and building out the syndicate and taking board of director roles, something they would have never done sort of years ago. They played a passive role at the Series C, Series D, maybe took on a board observer role. So there's been a variety of things. How are you, what's the investment style at SK Hynix that you would prefer as it relates to leading rounds of financing, board seats, and anything else that you're focused on?
We are more on passive side. So we rarely lead the round with only, a few exceptions. So we'd rather have a lead investor identified when we start evaluating the opportunities and asking both observer seat for our investments. But we actively collaborate with our portfolio companies to add values after the investments.
Okay. We talked a little bit about AI and chip space. We talked a little bit about generative AI. Is there anything, as you forecast ahead the next year, 2, 3, 5 years, is there anything that with regard to technology sectors that we should pay close attention to and make sure to bring to your attention as you sort of forecast ahead the innovations that really matter to SK Hynix?
Yeah. So AI both on software and hardware side will be more exciting going forward. And then from SK Hynix standpoint, we'll be looking at a lot about interconnect technologies in terms of how to move the data around, from processors to memories and entire systems. And so there could be optical interconnect technologies and other alternative technologies to minimize the powers and dollars to move those data around. And also, some disruptive potential technologies that can, replace or take a lot of shares from current platforms such as quantum computing going forward. And we also look at a lot about privacy enhancing technologies, for example, all the potential technologies that can have an impact on our main business going forward.
Yeah, thanks for that insight. We're always looking through the microscope and what's going on sort of, this week or this quarter or this year. I like to take a glance through the telescope every once in a while and hear about the types of things that you might be focused on in the coming years. So thanks for that glimpse out a bit. Let's wrap up this program with a rapid fire Q&A session, really focused around sort of professional development. So Heejin, if you don't mind, I want to ask a couple of questions about sort of how you stay sharp and both at Impact Venture Capital and within the broader Kauffman Fellows. A big part of what I've learned is that our team we're continuous learners. We're constantly trying to sort of fine tune how we're executing and how we're building our networks and so it's about skills and relationships. But I'm curious, a high-performing, world-class corporate venture investor like yourself, is there something that you do to prepare yourself for sort of professional excellence so that you're better each week, you're better each month, and your team is better each week and each month?
I wish I had a secret sauce to be successful in that regards. But I try to be open-minded, and I try to read a lot, and try to stay tuned with all the happenings around our space, and try my best to enhance my network in the investment community.
Yeah, thanks for that. My thesis project, my thought leadership project within the Kauffman Fellows program, the Kauffman Fellows 2-year program was around strategic planning for life. This idea of adopting sort of business practices in your personal life and living life in kind of a proactive way. A big part of my thesis was around morning routines and how you sort of what's the agenda for the day. Is there anything in particular that you do personally to sort of kickstart your body or your brain to sort of get into the right mindset to take on each day?
Yes, I have a 3.5-year-old dog, multiple 8.5 pounds. And my morning starts as early as 4:30 in the morning, depending on when she wakes me up for a 10 to 20-minute walk. So while I walk my dog, I try to remind myself what I want to achieve that day. So that's my morning routine, and so that I can have the day productive and achieve what I would like to do.
There is something about getting outside and quieting your mind and just allowing a little bit of time for reflection to prioritize the day. I really like that. Last question for you, Heejin. I'm always interested in sort of favorite blog or podcast or some type of publication as it relates to venture. Is there anything that you find yourself reading or listening to on a regular basis?
Yes, my commute time is roughly 35 to 40 minutes one way. So during my commute, I listen to the daily news podcast, and I read a lot on the semiconductor industry websites such as Semi Engineering, IEEE, Spectrum, the Next Platform, and etc. And as a hobby, I listen to the podcast for the world history. That's about it.
Thanks again for your time today, Heejin. Thanks to my colleagues, Pat Bumpus, the producer of Impact TV, and Alessandro, my co-chair at the Kauffman Fellows. Really appreciate the time today with you, Heejin. And that's a wrap for this week's show.